Okay, so we find with customers that there's often a challenge working out where to start with Windows Azure. So having spoken to a number of customers over the last year or so, we've discovered a bit of a theme. And so one area which is really an obvious place to start is test and dev. We've spoken to a number of quite prominent law firms recently who do a lot of bespoke software development in-house. And traditionally that development life cycle has been quite slow, where they get an idea or a project or some initiative comes up, and they have to procure the equipment to run the development regions on, and there can be a large delay for that equipment turning up and being provisioned and ready to go. Meanwhile, of course, the development teams aren't massively productive. So with Azure, of course, you can stand up virtual infrastructure there quite quickly. You'll have environments where people will set up development infrastructures for whole teams or for individual developers to kind of play and work in a bit of a sandpit. And often these environments can be spun up in a very short space of time, often less than 10 minutes really from starting with the idea and to move forward from there. And obviously there's the cost. I mean, you stand up a large amount of equipment in-house and it sits there in the data center being moderately used, and you've got to sweat that asset, whereas within Azure, you build it, you use it, you tear it down, you only pay for that consumption while it's being used. So disaster recovery is another really obvious place to start with these cloud-hosted services. So lots of organizations have got kind of large DR environments, or they're spending a lot of money on some type of DR setup today. We've spoken to a number of government departments or local authorities on this subject, and some private sector industries as well that are spending lots and lots of money having physical equipment locked away for them in the case of an emergency. These contracts often run into the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds. One organisation we spoke to spends about 130, 140 grand a year on a single application DR environment. It's so important to them that they've got this capability to stand this application up within a very short space of time. So to move that disaster recovery environment into Azure is quite straightforward. You can build out the application architecture in Azure at a very, very small scale. You can keep it dynamically updated by replicating data in real time from your live systems, and then in the event of an emergency, if you need to bring that online, you can then up the capacity of that environment and only spend or pay for the consumed capacity at the point where you stand it up. So the cost profile for disaster recovery is often significantly lower than what organisations are spending today for a more traditional hardware type solution to that problem. Another good area is we've found also a lot of organisations are reaching kind of limits to their on-premise environments. I mean, it's a very, very common thread. We go into places and we find that their current virtualized estate is getting to capacity, their SANs are getting to capacity, their backup environments are getting to capacity. So we're saying to them, well, that's fine, but you're at this tipping point now where this next application, this new thing you want to do has got a disproportionately high cost, because you're going to have to upgrade existing infrastructure to host that next thing. And we're saying to customers, okay, well, the risk profile of standing up a new application or new capability anywhere is lower risk than migrating current work. So how about we look at a project to stand up the capability for this new application in Azure. You can test it quite low risk because no one's using it currently, and then if you're satisfied and happy with that, you can then deploy the new capability and use it as a template for further workloads into Azure and not stress your on-premise environments any further.